She comes and shares with us about Camp Akulana.
Good morning and greetings from the staff and support team of Camp Akulana. For those of you that don't know, Camp Akulana has been in continuous operation since 1915, making us the oldest working camp in the state of Virginia. We're a traditional residential camp in a tiny little town called Millboro Springs, and we aim to provide a camp experience for kids that would not otherwise be able to have that sort of experience, usually low income or at-risk youth from our city. We do that because we believe that summer camp is a unique place for children to experience a new way of living, to build meaningful relationships, and to meet God in a real way. Hopefully some of the stories that I share will demonstrate our outcomes. And I hope as I speak this morning that you hear that I am talking about your camp, a camp that your congregation has helped to survive and thrive and minister for 100 years. You have a church member, as was mentioned. Will Holbert is a counselor at Akulana, and I know that he needs your prayers and support as he ministers to these children. It is not an easy job. I am 42 years old. This is my 42nd summer at camp. My parents were counselors, cooks, and support staff before I was born. I spent my first summer on this earth at Akulana. I have been a child at camp, playing in the creek and going on mud hikes. I was a teenage counselor, sleeping in a cabin with a bunch of girls and helping them experience camp. I've been an adult volunteer, teaching crafts, working the dining hall, or helping to cook. And I have brought my own 3 children to camp to play in the creek and go on hikes and learn that there is something bigger than themselves. Camp feels like my community, my safest place, the place where I feel accepted and loved. My children can hardly wait to get there in July. They've been talking about it for weeks. For them, it is a place of freedom and a place of love, which is what we hope it is for all of the kids who come to camp. A few years ago, my family and I were working a boys' session, and we were there when the kids arrived. One boy got off the bus, and his attitude was bad from the very beginning. He didn't want to participate. He was angry. He was hostile with campers and counselors alike, and he just seemed to be one of those kids who did not want to be there. One of the counselors noticed that the only shoes he had were winter boots, boots that were so small for him that he didn't lace them up, and they made him limp. So this counselor took him to the clothes closet and found him a pair of tennis shoes that fit, along with some socks and some other shoes for the water and a few other things. The change in him was immediate. He was cooperative, he was happy, he participated, and he had a great week at camp. Over shoes, something that we take for granted, and for that boy it meant the difference for his week. One way that we measure our outcomes at camp is by listening to what the kids have to say about Akulana. Every session we ask the campers to make promises to God, and we have a ceremony that allows them to verbally make those promises. Here are some of the promises that campers made at the end of their time at camp last year. I promise I will talk to God every day. I promise to read the Bible more often. I promise to be a Christian. I promise to really dedicate time to God and to set an example for other people. I promise never to deny God even when I don't feel Him near me. I promise to always love and cherish myself as God loves His children. I promise to forgive people and myself when we do something wrong. I promise to worship God more. I hope that when you hear these words, you celebrate the part that you have played in all of this. As you collect items and give them to camp, like peanut butter for all of the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches we eat, or cleaning supplies to keep the facility in good repair, or paint for crafts, all of that is part of what God is doing here. As you pray in your church for us, or as you write encouraging notes to Will, you are part of the work that God is doing here. And as you take this information back to your Sunday school classes and share it with other people in your church, you are part of the work that God is doing here. Our 100th summer of camp is coming up next year, and we are so excited for the celebration. We're planning an anniversary event and an alumni retreat for next year, and this summer we are hosting day trips on June 20th, July 21st, and August 2nd. These trips would allow anyone who supports camp or is interested in camp to see what it's really like, filled with kids and activity, singing and shouting and cookouts and campfires, and a group of counselors doing their level best to show a group of kids how much they are loved. I promise you, if you come, it will be an experience you will never forget, and I really encourage you to try and make a trip on one of those days. Another project related to our 100th anniversary is collecting memories and testimonies from as many former campers and counselors as possible. As a member of the support team, I've had the unique experience of conducting some of these interviews, and it has been a true blessing to me to hear people talk about what Akulana means to them, and to see the emotion that inevitably comes with those memories lets me know how valuable Akulana is. I've discovered that no matter where someone comes from, no matter their background or how they came to camp, they all share the same feeling, that they were safe and they were loved. I've heard interviews and met people who literally credit Camp Akulana with saving their lives. People have said that they truly believed they met God and His family at camp. Time and time again, I've heard people from all walks of life speak of how valued they felt and how their lives were forever changed. All of this is to tell the story of what God has done here and is still doing. This small camp, created by and supported through our churches all of these years, has helped to connect children with God in real ways, ways that they remember and tear up over when they discuss it years later. God is honored in these stories and in the efforts that have sustained camp over the years, and God is honored by our continued work to connect children with Him. So thank you to this church for your prayers and for your money, for your donations of things that may help a child's week be just a little bit better. And thank you for believing in Camp Akulana, and thank you for having me here.